This is a Stihl leaf blower. It's got a problem with revving up. Just like bogs down. And the low screw had fell out in the case. I'm going to take these 3 screws out here and take the cover off of it. I've taken the Stihl leaf blower apart. This is the area I'm going to focus in, is the carburation. I'll take this air filter off. Thing there. Pull this filter cartridge out to the inside. I got 2 5/16 nuts holding the carburetor to it, and a fuel line and a linkage. I'll take that off. I took the nuts and the cover with it off. So now the fuel line's off. I just got to fish it off with the linkage. Squeeze the trigger down while pulling the carburetor back. Has another fuel line on the bottom and one going in the top, return line or something. Okay, it's off of there. I made that spring for the low screw because the spring was gone, but the screw was still in there fortunately, and it didn't get caught in the housing or the magnet. So I'm just going to take this thing apart, this top screw and this primer bulb housing, 4 screws, see if there's any trash caught in the screen or water. Well, this is all there is to the one part with a center screw in it, a diaphragm with that makes a couple of check valves. I don't see anything in the screen. And whenever you take this primer bulb off, just remember that your fuel line faces the mixture jets. That's the back side of that primer bulb, and there's another actual diaphragm that pumps the gas in by going up and down. It's a little wet, it might have a hole in it. I'm going to ease it up off of there. There's the back side of the diaphragm. Very little tearing. I don't see any debris. I'm just going to spray the jets out. I removed the safety cap off the high side and took it out and sprayed it out. It's the difference between that little hole below the big screw hole and that plug with a pinhole in the center. And then it comes out sideways in the center of this bore going through the carburetor. But everything was open, so I'm going to leave that cap off and take a spring, like off of a coil and plug resistor spring, and put it underneath, cut it off and put it underneath the head of this to put tension on it so it won't back off, and it can still be adjustable. Just clean this thing out and put it back together. I didn't see a hole in the diaphragm. You can hold it up to the light and sometimes you can see a hole, or put some fluid on one side of the diaphragm to see if it passes through to the other side. Makes it wet on the side you didn't put fluid on it. I'll stick it back on there and give it a try. See if it doesn't have any other problems inside. And put your linkage back on the throttle plate hole. Make sure it's underneath of this plastic pin. Fish the carburetor on the studs and put your other fuel line back on before it goes all the way down. Then this fuel line. Make sure your gasket's installed. Put your air filter backing on, then 2 nuts and just snug them down. I decided that since it's not what's going in that's causing a problem, maybe it's what's coming out, and I took this nut on the muffler out. It looks like the screen is all stopped up, so I'm going to leave it off and see how it runs, and probably clean this screen out off of the muffler. Yep, that was it. I just put it on the grinder and ground the end open on it. That ought to slow that stopping up of that screen. Yeah, if your Stihl won't rev up, the spark arrestor is probably stopped up with oil. It takes a 15mm socket to get it out of there on the muffler.